Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 9:30. And the first item on the agenda is any public comments? Any public comments? No? Okay. Item 3 is to consider and or approve the Texas Smart Buy membership program. Alicia, I think you're up for the first 3.
Okay. So the sheriff's department wanted to join this membership program. It's called the Smart Buy. It's through the Texas Comptroller because they could get some sort of testing kits cheaper than what they could through other means, but it's kind of a purchasing co-op like buy board or something like that. So I thought that it might be more beneficial if we signed up as a county rather than just as the sheriff's department. So that the other departments could benefit from seeing, if they could get better prices on this Smart Buy than they could on Buy More or somewhere else. Or, but there is a $100 membership fee. It's an annual fee, and I think the judge and I talked about maybe paying it out of the miscellaneous from the non-departmental, so that the whole county could use it. And I have gotten with Jacqueline Lozier. She's the one who is wanting it so she could buy these kits. And I told her to look on Buy Board to see if maybe they were available on there because we don't have to pay a membership fee for Buy Board. But I have not heard back from her to see if she's found those on there. But I just wanted to, I think it's a really good program because it just expands our vendors basically, and they have contracted with, various vendors, so we may be able to get a lower price on a few things.
So maybe we could try it for a year and see how beneficial it is to us. And
if the only thing that we end up buying are these evidence kits, or I think they're for the
it's test kits.
blood alcohol level or something. Just from what she was telling me, it would be enough savings to pay for it.
It's just like the other co-ops. Remember, like what, 5 of them?
But most of them don't charge us.
Right.
Yeah, but you can buy it. I think it's good.
And so I filled out the paperwork to make it a county, like how Buy Board works. We've got a county, and then I can just invite users to use it. And this probably works the same way.
Yeah. Okay.
Make a motion to approve the Texas Smart Buy membership program.
No, second it.
Okay. And does that include taking the fee out of that miscellaneous?
Yes, including taking the fee out of
Non-departmental miscellaneous.
non-departmental miscellaneous.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, the next item is to consider and or approve the authority for the county auditor to claim ownership of the HutchinsonCNTY.com email domain for Amazon business.
And this, I have spoke with Amazon, and they said that we had approximately, 16, I think, different accounts that were using our email domain. And he suggested making one business account that all of these could go under, and you would just invite users. So that way the auditor has access to see everything that's being purchased. Our tax exempt status is already programmed in there. So it would kind of be the same thing. But this just gives me authorization to sign the email domain ownership authorization that just says that Hutchinson County owns HutchinsonCNTY.com. So anytime somebody tries to set up an Amazon account using this, their Hutchinson County email, it will give them a message saying there's a business account. Do you want to join it? Rather than allowing them to create their own personal with their HutchinsonCNTY.com email.
So this just merges the current ones to, what's it going to do?
The only one that will actually merge is the judges, because hers is the only business
I
account.
set mine up as a business account.
All of the rest of them are set up as personal accounts, basically.
So it'll cancel those out.
It won't, but all the ones, I can send user invites. And so whenever they accept that invite, I don't know if it really disconnects theirs, because he said because of privacy issues, they can't tell me who all has a personal account.
Right.
But I can, I think I know who has them, so I can send them an invite and it will put them on the main one. And I can see who hasn't accepted the invite, so I can.
And
know
the
if-
Amazon business account is tax-free.
Yes.
Yes.
It is tax exempt.
Right, so it needs to be used for business purposes only.
Yes, but that'll allow me to see, well, the auditor is buying her toilet paper off of Amazon.
Right,
Whatever.
tax-free. Okay.
Right. And so it just allows me to better monitor the purchases and
You can't see any of that now, what's bought for the county?
no. The only way that I see, and it's not a whole lot because
That's
usually
not
they
right,
have
though, for
to,
buying for the county.
they usually have
But that's the
to,
way, we had no other option. That's why I set up my Amazon business account. So
So
I
a
could
lot
get
of
it
them-
tax-free.
use their
For
personal
the-
credit card because we don't have county credit cards, so
Right.
they'll have to use their, and then they turn it in for a reimbursement, and then I see it that way. I see the receipt of what they purchased. We
But
don't
now
have a whole
Amazon will
record-
invoice us, right?
Yes, and
with
this will
this,
also
yeah.
allow Amazon to invoice us. And so we won't have to have personal credit cards being used to make purchases and then reimbursing them.
So whatever's ordered for the county, you'll get a bill for it at the
Exactly,
end of the month and you pay
Yes.
it. And
Exactly.
you monitor it and you take care of it.
exactly.
I like the sound of
A
that.
little more control, I think.
I like that. Mhm.
Do I hear a motion?
Approve county auditor to claim ownership of the email domain for our business account through Amazon.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. And then item 5 is to consider and or approve change to the existing sales tax exemption section of the Hutchinson County Purchasing Policy and Procedures Manual.
So when I wrote up the purchasing policies and procedures, I kind of started from scratch and using them a little bit. I can see where there's some changes that need to be made. And one of the policies was that we would not be reimbursing any sales tax. So if they went to Walmart or something like that and bought something without using our tax exempt status, then I wouldn't reimburse them for the sales tax portion of that purchase. It has come up that there's someone with a Dropbox subscription, and it's set up as a personal use account instead of a business use account, and it does charge sales tax, but it is cheaper for me to reimburse the sales tax than it would be for us to convert it to a business account. And so I just wanted to change in here, instead of making it so absolute, that there is some, if it's for the betterment of the county, that it could be approved to reimburse the sales tax. So currently it says sales tax will not be included in the reimbursement amount, and I just want to add, it will not be included in the reimbursement amount unless the reimbursement of the tax is in the better interest of Hutchinson County. Approval of the reimbursement of sales tax shall be made by the county auditor.
Sounds good.
So, and I'm sure that there's gonna be maybe another situation that comes, still, if they go to Walmart or Amazon and just are too lazy to take the tax exempt status, I still will not be reimbursing. But if it is something that is more beneficial for the county, it doesn't make any sense for me not to reimburse the sales tax and pay more for the item anyway.
I'll make a motion to change the existing sales tax exemption.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Okay. All right, now we'll get down to business, I guess. Item 6 is to discuss, consider, and or approve our health insurance renewal. And we have Charlotte. Charlotte, have you met everybody? All of our new commissioners. This is Charlotte Rose.
And Leisha Craig.
Nice to meet you, Alicia.
Dan.
Gary on that.
Nice to meet you, Gary.
We've met.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Did it start on the screens? I'm just not here today. Sorry, Jen.
I didn't turn the other one on.
Oh, okay.
I must have stopped.
That's fine.
Yeah, Jan was nice enough to bring her table across so you could spread out.
So for those of you that haven't met, I'm with Upshaw Insurance Agency in Amarillo, and I've worked with the county since on the broker side. Since I'm trying to think, I've worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas, and I was a Blue Cross member at that time, or a client, and I was a service rep, and so I was thinking about this driving over and work with June.
Okay, well, and that was before 87.
In the treasurer's office, so a long time ago. And then when I came over to the broker side, the county had moved to, I can't remember the name of the carrier, they're not even in business anymore. And Washington National, something like that, yeah. Went out on a RFP, and you decided at that time to work with us, and we went with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but you were private, on their private side. The Texas Association of Counties was not even in existence at that time. So when TAC came about, we made the decision to move the coverage into the TAC program. And I know no increase is fun, but the TAC program has really helped hold your increases down. So year in and year out, for as long as I can remember, your claims have exceeded your premium. And Kathy and I were talking about this just a second ago. The TAC program has helped keep your renewal increases more stable than if you were on the private side. So what I'm seeing with 100% or more loss ratio on the private side from Blue United Healthcare is first offer out of the box is about a 20 to 30% increase. And then if it is, you're considered large group because you have more than 100 employees. If it's large group and a lot of your claim spend is on the pharmacy side, we know automatically that carrier is getting rebates that they don't have to disclose to us from the drug manufacturer. So we can usually get those increases down. I have a law firm in Amarillo about your size, bad claims experience. Most of it's in drug spend. Blue Cross came out with a 22% increase and we landed at 8%. And it's because of the drug spend. So your increase is considered what we call a trend increase. 9.3 is about trend. That's a medical inflationary factor. So with your claims experience, and we'll walk through it in just a second, being like it is, no one on the private side is going to take a look at the group because we have too many historical years looking back at the claims experience running over 100% paid loss ratio. So on your first sheet that I gave you, this 12-month medical report, this is the claims experience for the high deductible health plan. So this plan is back to what insurance was when I got in the business. No copays, no first dollar coverage. Everything's subject to a $5,000 deductible before there's any reimbursement, except for preventative care. Obamacare mandated that certain preventative care items had to be covered at 100%, no deductible, no copayment. The max, once an employee that's on this plan has met $5,000 in deductible, then the plan begins to reimburse them at 100% in network. So their maximum that they're out of pocket, and worst case scenario, as long as they stay in network on this plan, is $5,000 per employee, okay? So you paid in, you and their deductions, $1,009,214.48, and this runs April 2021 through March 2022. And then your medical spend, not pharmacy, was 1.156. So medical alone exceeded the premium. And then we had a pharmacy spend of 264. You had a total spend on this plan of $1,423,000. Plan behind that one is your copay plan, or I think you'll call it an 80/20 plan. It's still a PPO, just like the HSA plan. It uses the exact same provider network. Last year, we upped the deductible on that plan as well to $2,500. And then once that $2,500 deductible is met, the plan pays 80%, the employee pays 20%. Maximum out of pocket on this plan is $6,850. Remember that the other plan only has a $5,000 out of pocket max. But what they get on this plan, and I've got a sheet that'll show you this in a second, is they get office visits and drugs, not subject to that $2,500 deductible. They can go to the doctor for a $40 copayment or $50 if it's a specialist, and pick up, they do have a $100 deductible on their prescriptions. And then they either go to a $10, $30, or $50 copayment. So, and they pay more for this plan. So that's why we have, if you look at the enrollment, which is the next sheet with the claims experience, you have an average of 38 subscribers. So that's employees on this plan. We're on the high deductible health plan. We have an average of 118. People that are choosing this plan are those that typically they can't wrap their head around pulling up at Walgreens and picking up a prescription and having to come up with $150 or $200. They want something more budgetable, knowing that they're going to pay more out of their premium. And in worst case scenario, their out of pocket is $6,850 versus $5,000. But we still do have those 38 people. So your healthier people obviously are on this plan, because total contribution where premiums paid was $565, $461. Medical spend was $215, or right at $216. Pharmacy spend $176. So plan, okay. Remember too, that those people, the 118 employees that chose that HSA plan, if they're an active employee, not a retiree, they're receiving HSA contribution from the county as well. $1,500 a year for employee only and $3,000 for family. Did I get that right? Okay, that's what I thought. So that, it's a pretty rich benefit, because their out-of-pocket max is $5,000. You're paying 100% of the premium on that plan. That should give you $1,500 a year into your HSA. So that really lowers their out-of-pocket maximum to $3,500. So that's why you see more people on that plan. That's why your claims experience, you know, if I'm your sickest person on the plan, that's definitely where I'm going, is to that $5,000 deductible. With, even though I'm going to have to pay the first $3,500 out of my pocket, because you're paying $1,500 of it. Because on the other plan, it's $6,850. I'm going to have, well, you're paying 100% of that plan too, but if I have dependent coverage, I'm paying more. But I'm not going to have the $1,500 from you, because being on a copay plan does not allow them to receive any HSA contribution from me. And that's an IRS rule, since it has first dollar coverage.
And we don't pay 100% on the 80.
That's right, for the attorney now.
They pay a little bit.
Okay. So then the next sheet gives you your top 25 claimants. So this is anyone with $10,000 or more in spend, regardless of which plan they're on, okay? I verified with TAC and with Kathy that claimant number 1 and claimant number 2 are still on your plan. So claimant number 1 is an active employee. Both are on the high deductible health plan. Had close to $600,000 and spend. And you have a under 65 retiree that had 451,306. And then you can see we drop down to 99,000 and on down from there. So those top 20 claimants account for 1.58 in paid claims from Blue Cross. Now look at your very next page. I totaled the two plans together. So your total contribution to the high deductible health plan and copay plan, and this includes the employees, what you're deducting out of their paychecks. You paid into Blue Cross 1,574. They paid out $1,816,000. 20 people accounted for 1.5 of that spend. That is very typical. Usually 20% of your people spend 80% of your dollars is what we normally see. Any questions? Okay, so this next sheet looks like this. At the top, I've shown you currently on your HSA or high deductible health plan, what the premiums are that are being billed from Blue Cross. So $966.66 for an employee only. You can see employee child $1,472, and employee spouse $2013 or $2,013, employee and family $2,452. That's more than a lot of people's mortgages. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money. Renewal premium goes up 9.8%. So you can see that to the right for that plan. This deductible was also increased last year. This is that $5,000 deductible, then 100% coverage. So $5,000 out of pocket max. That is the highest deductible and highest out of pocket max that TAC allows. So if we even wanted to look at a higher out of pocket max or deductible, they don't have anything for us to look at. So we've topped out in that plan. Okay, so beneath that, you see the benefits. So everything again is subject to deductible. They're gonna have to meet the 5 that you're given on the 1,500 before there's any reimbursement. And then right below that, I've shown you what your current employer contribution is to the plan. So currently you're contributing 100% of the employee only. So the $966.66 on employees with child or children, you're giving them $1,007.62. Employee and spouse, same amount. Family, same amount as well. And for a retired employee, you're contributing $482.63. So to the right of that, I just made an assumption. And the assumption I made was that you would continue to pay 100% of that plan. So the $1,056.56. And then what I did is assume that you would pass on 5% of that increase. It's right at 5% of the increase to the employee, and you would absorb the 4.3. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just a starting point. Okay. So if you did that and you increased their premiums by, it's right at 5%, it's just going to jump them from going to jump your premium from $1,762 to $1,047.92, your contribution. And then beneath that, I've shown you what's currently being deducted from their paychecks. If they have child, spouse, or family coverage, so that's that $464.42, $1,006, $1,444.52. And then with passing on roughly that 5% increase to them, it would increase their premiums to that amount of $561.02, $1,152.96, or $1,632.26.
Now, you did the 5% increase on the HSA, for example. You didn't do it on the employee part, but you did it on the dependent. So on the 80-20 plan, you did the 5% on dependent. Did you do it also on the employee?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's to the right. And currently at the top, you can see what your premiums are under the current column of what they're being billed if they have family coverage. So $3,036.96 covering your family is what the billed premium is. crazy numbers. Renewal, you can see that to the right. So again, it's a 9.3% increase. The benefit summary, you're responsible for the first $2,500 in deductible. Once the deductible's met, the plan pays 80% in network, they pay 20%. If in any year their 20% and their copays were to account to $43.50, then they go to 100% coverage. So an office visit's a $40 copayment, ER copayment's $150, specialist copayment's $50, and then you can see their RX copays, and these are not subject to the deductible, these copayments, except for you've got a $100 deductible on the prescription drugs before those copayments of $10, $30, or $50 kick in. So currently on that plan, you're contributing $1,066.21 towards the cost for an employee only. And right, if you look at the column beneath that, that means they're paying $125.81 if they take the copay plan. And we have, what did I say, 38 average that are on that plan. Okay. Then if they have dependent coverage, it varies a little by tier, but 1107.17 for someone with child or children, 1158.31 for employee and spouse, and 1212.72 for family. Again, I increased each tier by roughly 5%. And so that shows you what your employer contribution would be under the renewal column. So it would take you from an annual cost of $415,373 contribution on that plan to $457,285. And I failed to show you that on the high deductible HSA plan. It takes you from an employer contribution of $958,500 to $1,038,000. And then beneath that, on the copay plan, their contributions under the current column, and then you can see what they would go to if you implemented that 5% increase to them, with you absorbing the rest of it.
And that's without that total annual cost for HSA, that's without what we contribute.
That's correct. That does not have your HSA contribution in it. So that is on top of $1,500 is a very generous HSA contribution. I actually do that for my employees, but we implemented a $6,350 deductible plan. So when we did that, I increased our contribution, but the average is around $500 a year is what most employers are putting into an HSA plan. Normally they'll start high to get so that people can build up some into their account, because remember, on an HSA contribution, once you put it in their account, it's their money. It's an individual account. If you deposit money into the account and they quit you the next day, that money goes with them. It doesn't come back to you. An FSA, it stays with you. So if you've heard a use it or lose it, or if they don't use it, you don't spend it, that's an FSA. An HSA is an individually owned account at the bank. So when I have an HSA as well, when I go to the doctor, I can either use a personal credit card or debit card to pay for my medical expenses, or I can use my HSA card. So it's a debit card. Mine's at Happy State Bank. It just, swap it and there's enough money in there. It covers the cost. If I don't use it, it rolls over every year. So I can build up, there's no limit to what I can have in that account. And the $3,000 for family coverage is really generous. I don't give any extra to our employees if they have dependent coverage. It's $1,500 flat, whether they're employee or employee independent. So I just think that's something to consider. What questions do you have?
Did you call that when the insurance company gets deductions on
Oh,
medications?
rebates.
It's just rebates.
Rebates. So we heard it when Trump was in office. We're hearing it again with Biden. I don't want to get political, but rebate, the pharmaceutical companies have the largest PAC lobby in the country. So they're patting both sides of the aisle. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, you'll find every one of them are taking PAC money from pharmaceutical companies. So our drugs in the US cost much more than drugs in Mexico, for the exact same drug, Canada, because they don't allow that PAC money. So what it allows the manufacturers to do is every insurance carrier has their own formulary, drugs that they'll cover and drugs they won't cover, or drugs that you might have to jump through hoops to get, okay? So this isn't just Blue Cross, every single one of them have it. And I'll get phone calls from employees or members saying, hey, my doctor prescribed a generic, and that's a lower copayment, but my insurance company won't cover it. They want me to take the brand name. Why would that be? Well, because the brand, they're pushing people to the brand because they get much more rebate from the manufacturer every time that brand is filled. And so it ends up costing them less than putting it together on the formula. The rebates are what, in my opinion, like TAC, that's funneling back to them. And I'm not picking on TAC at all. I'm talking about the insurance carriers. That's what helps them to help keep your renewals at a more favorable amount. But on the private side, like the law firm that I was talking about, all of their spend, almost all of it is in drugs. So I was able to, or Nicole in my office, put it out to market. They've had 3 years of 100% paid loss ratio and get a better quote than we got from Blue Cross. Still an increase, but then Blue Cross came and matched it because we're like, we know you're getting all this drug rebate money off of these top drugs. Humira is a big one. There's a lot of drug rebate on Humira. So that is where I think you have a lot of drug spend. Probably the whole TAC pool has a lot of drug spend. They're using that to help flatten out everyone's increase.
So what about individuals? If you're on these plans and you try to negotiate with the insurance company to get, no way.
No, that doesn't happen.
Mhm.
So on the formularies, so you need the individual to get part of that rebate.
Well, yeah, for the individual to get their drugs a little cheaper.
No, so if they're on the high deductible health plan, they're going to get the prescription, like Humira costs around $4,500 a month. And so if I'm on the high deductible health plan, the manufacturer of Humira is going to, I'm going to be out of pocket $5,000. So I had this happen in my office. Young woman on Humira, our deductible at that time was $4,000. She's like, I'm taking the copay plan. I'm like, that makes no sense. You need to be on the $4,000 deductible. You'll meet at your first fill in January with Humira, and then you're the 100% coverage. She said, but I don't have $4,000. I said, just do it. So she finally did. When she went to fill that prescription, the manufacturer of Humira issued her a drug coupon, and they paid all of the cost of that Humira except for $5. And all of that $4,000 went to her deductible. So she was matched.
Situation I know of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maddening for me because I'm not on a drug like that. So I had to actually spend $4,000 if I had had the claims to meet my deductible, where she had to spend $5 and her deductible was met because the manufacturer of Humira paid for her drug. Yeah. And so back to the political pieces. Nothing happened under the Trump administration. Nothing will probably happen under the Biden administration because there's no incentive to the politicians to do anything about it because they're going to lose that PAC money. I wish at some point we're supposed to get more transparency coming from the carriers on what they're actually, there's a new transparency rule, what they're making, so that we would see, okay, here's what you paid in a premium, here's what they paid out in claims, but here's what they also made in their drug spend and the drug rebate. That is it's out now, but we haven't seen a carrier do it yet. So we're waiting. I know they're fighting it because they don't want anyone to see that, and they don't have to disclose it right now. But it's a big number. Big number. So hopefully that would funnel down through TAC where we would see it case by case that's underneath the TAC program, just like we get the claims experience broken out.
Oh, Amy, did you have, I've got this. Did you have bottom line numbers? If we kept everything the same and the county took the increase?
I did not, but that's where I came up with the about 128,000. But that's not including retirees or y'all paying any more on dependents. Okay, that's keeping
Just
it
exactly like it is.
like it is, but the increase on the employee, the county picking the total increase up for themselves.
So keeping the reductions the same or increasing them?
Keeping, no, if what the county, of course, county right now doesn't, the employee doesn't pay anything on their sales on
HSA.
Right, so keeping that like that.
Okay.
But then on the increase on the employee for the 80/20, the county picking that up, but not picking up the dependent increase though. That was around.
Passing on the full dependent
Yeah.
increase. Okay.
That was around 128,000.
How many retirees under 65 do we have on insurance?
We have 5 on the 80/20 and 2 on the HSA.
Okay.
And we pay almost half.
Yeah, and so your enrollment under employer contribution, Judge, is listed there for you.
Okay. Right. Okay, I see that now.
Yeah, so covering dependents, you have 12 on the HSA plan with child coverage, 3 with spouse, and on the copay plan, you have 3 with children, 1 with spouse. Does that match what you have? Okay.
You know, last year, let's see, on the dependent portion, we had them pick up their cost. Is that true, Amy?
Correct, yes.
Okay, yeah. We didn't increase paying on dependents last year. Okay,
The county paid the same.
yes.
So on this worksheet that I had given, or that I had emailed you, now on the children or on the dependents, that's gonna be exactly the same. If they were to pick up that excess, then that's what they would be paying monthly. On where it says employee pays.
I mean, it'd be an increase for the employee if they have to pick up on their dependents, because the dependents went up.
Mhm.
How much did they go up, Amy?
Well, for the 80/20, for the children's 58.36 a month. The spouse is 120.92. We don't have anybody on the family,
No.
so we don't really have to worry about that one, but unless someone comes on and wants their family. But on the children, on the HSA, it went up $47 and then 97.36 for the spouse on the HSA. So, and that's if y'all continue to pay the 125 for the dependent coverage a month, which if my figures are right by hand multiplying, it's 22,500 a year is what we're paying on just the dependent coverage for the HSA for the amount.
Now Charlotte's sheet here shows the 5%.
Yes, it's different.
Yeah, it's a 5% for dependent increase that y'all would pick up. and then it's 5% on the 80/20 for the employee. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
Because
Because
on
it
the
takes,
HSA, it's 100% still.
right, it takes the copay plan from 125.81 to 132.48.
And we can, if y'all think of anything, you know, that y'all want to do, we can do the, amount for y'all. Give y'all different other scenarios.
Today, they don't have to decide on.
No,
No, they haven't.
When does-
Contribution.
When does this have to be done?
by the end of,
29.
yeah, so we're gonna have to make a decision. Yeah,
By next meeting?
well, the 27th is our, that, I
The
don't.
last
have-
meeting in June.
Yeah, the
Okay.
27th is our last meeting in June, and
But the only decision that has to be made by then is whether to renew the insurance or not renew, not necessarily on the contributions that the
Yes, we'll
employee.
need to know.
That will need
because you have to send all the information in
When's the policy,
For open enrollment. and
when's it
all.
go into effect?
October 1. Right?
Yes. Do what?
It goes into effect October 1.
So currently, your HSA contribution based on this enrollment at 1,500 for employees just covering themselves, and then the 11 with dependents, you're paying 124.5 a year. So that's in addition to your premiums. That's your HSA contribution. I think with just something to think about, if you're thinking about whether to raise premiums on employees, to start charging them more for an employee only, or if you had to do that versus cutting your HSA contribution. I know for my employees with inflation and everything that's going on, they probably would rather have me cut my HSA contribution than start charging them a premium.
That comes out of their paycheck every
That
month.
comes out of their paycheck.
And last year, we did charge the employees for the HSA, not this time right now, but last year was $21.70, I believe, a month. Because what y'all have normally tried to do in the past is keep whatever you're paying on an employee, whether they're on the 80/20 or the HSA, keep it close, not keep it thousands of dollars apart, Now, there's no given rule, you have to do either one, but you just have tried to do that in the past. Say, if you chose the 80/20 and Chris chose the HSA, well, if we're gonna pay 11,000 a year, let's pay 11 on this, 11 on this. Instead of paying 11 on yours and 8 on Chris's or something. But we just. But that's not a rule. It's set in stone, so. And that's kind of how I think the 125 with the employees a month
Mhm.
independent coverage got into it. We had more on the 80/20 for a while, and then the HSA kicked in. And so I think that's when y'all thought, well, okay, we're not paying as much on the HSA employee, so let's give them 125 for this or 125 for dependents or whatever.
Yeah, in the beginning, they were very reluctant to let go of that copay.
Oh, yes.
And that's in any employer agreement,
Yeah.
because they,
Well,
A woman that's been in
like,
business with-
I mean, if you go January, ours starts October 1st, our
deductible.
deductible. So October the 2nd, if you had to have, you was on the HSA and you had to have heart surgery or knee replacement or something, you pretty much had to have $5,000 to give to whoever, the doctor, the hospital and all that, Whereas you would only have to pay the
2,500,
yes. or
and then
the
the
other.
20%.
Yeah.
Where it really hit people is like an MRI,
Yes.
where all of it was gonna be subject to the deductible, and it wasn't gonna hit the deductible on the copay plan or the HSA plan, so I've gotta come up with $1,500. And I don't have there's money in my HSA account yet. Where am I gonna get it? But through the years, as you've increased your HSA contribution and they've built up some money, because a lot of your people contribute out of their check into their HSA up to the maximum amount allowed. They've built up dollars in that account. So when our Blue Cross rep that I dealt with forever retired, he had $80,000 in his HSA account because he had fully funded it from day one that HSAs came into existence until the time he retired, and never touched it. They were healthy, didn't have to use it. And so the HSA is a really nice tool because you can pay for things other than just medical expenses, dental, vision. He paid up long-term care policies for he and his wife with his. And so that's with tax-free dollars, because what y'all put in to the account's not taxable. What he put in on his own is non-taxable. And as long as you spend it for qualified expenses, you never pay tax on it. So you've got a pretty rich benefit right now.
So what is the benefit now with offering the both HSA or the PPO? What's the benefit of that?
What's the benefit
Like,
for the HSA?
if we were to just pick
benefit?
one now that we've had some time, would we have a riot?
If you just pick one plan?
Yeah,
Yeah, if he just said HSA.
HSA only for the county.
Jeez, I don't know.
Well, the 38 people on your copay plan are not the ones having the high claims. And they're paying out of their pocket to be on that plan, $128 per paycheck. So those people, and I'm just going off of what I hear within our office, they feel more comfortable knowing I'm going to pay $128 a month to be able to go to the doctor for a $40 copayment and not have to meet my deductible, and to pick up my prescriptions for $10 copayment or $30 copayment. So it's more budget friendly in their mind. They can't see the big picture that in worst case scenario, it's going to cost them their premium plus the $68.50. And when we do employee meetings, we show them all claim scenarios and how it's going to impact them, but they still want to hold on to that copay. So it's not benefiting you financially to do away with the copay plan, because when you move them under the HSA plan, their actual, if they were to have a big claim, their out-of-pocket max comes down from $68.50 to $5,000, and now you're giving them $1,500 or $3,000, depending upon where you keep that, and you've taken away their choice. I actually give my employees 3 choices: 2 HSA plans and 1 copay plan. And most are on the HSA plan because it just does make more sense. But I still have those few that want to hold on to that budget friendly, and they're
There's some that cannot, or they can be on the HSA plan, but they will not be funded. So
that's a good point.
sometimes if they have like insurance with their spouse and they have insurance with us, it just causes a lot of issues.
Well, if they have it with their
us, so-
spouse and their spouse has an HSA.
Mhm.
Then they can have the HSA
They
plan
can.
with the HSA contribution. But if I'm on my spouse's plan and it has a copay, it's a copay plan, I can choose to be on the high deductible health plan here, but I can't put dollars into my HSA or take your contribution. Or if it's an employee that's actively at work, 65 and older, and they've enrolled in Part A of Medicare, they're not eligible to contribute into the HSA or receive your funds.
So it would be important to have
Have both,
for that
okay.
reason.
And you have just a few, especially younger ones that sign up and they have children, and they're in their mind, they're thinking, I can take that child to the doctor for $40 instead of $200.
Right.
And I just,
Thank y'all. That answered my question.
we hoped when we went on the HSA that we would get more on the HSA at that time, and we have, definitely. Because
I think every year we've added a few, haven't we?
Yeah, we've been, half was HSA, half was 80/20, but in the last year or so, it's just, we've had more that because I talked to different ones and they're going, oh, you don't pay anything after that 5,000? Of course, they don't really think 5,000.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and if they're
well, it's really
healthy,
35, yeah.
they're walking away at the end of every year with that 1,500 just growing that you're giving them. So it's the best plan for the healthiest person or the sickest person
It
on the
really
plan.
is.
Mm.
It's that in-between person that, you know, struggles with the copay, giving that up.
So what kind of numbers do y'all want to maybe have Kathy and Amy put together for us so we can look at?
Or do you have some more questions for Charlotte on? This?
And you can, if you ever want to go to market, we can do a market check without you having to go out on full RFP. And if we saw numbers come back that look better, then you would have to go out on full RFP. So you'd have to put it out to everybody. It wouldn't just be us as a broker looking at it, because you're required to allow anybody that wants to be able to quote on it. We've done market checks with what's going on.
Haven't we done that the last few years?
Yeah,
Yeah, because we got letters from the last.
Mhm.
yeah.
We used to, before TAC had their pool, I went out for bid every year. We got all the information together, and of course, they want to know your claims experience, and they want to know what's wrong with this person. And then, of course, some of that hurt when the Privacy Act came in, because, the Northern County doesn't really want to tell me what's your condition gonna last.
Yeah, and the problem with TAC reporting, this would be my only complaint about being under TAC, is that high claimant report that you get,
Mhm.
it doesn't tell you any diagnosis on those people. It doesn't tell us if they're in case management. Case management tells us if it's a prolonged, chronic condition, and trying to get it's like pulling teeth. And to go to market, they want to know that stuff. They want to know what's going on with those people. So when I send it just for market check, so that we're not violating any of the rules, they go, no, thank you. I get a decline
Gosh,
quote.
a couple of years ago, wasn't it? We had a 30% and a 40% or 50% from somebody. They wanted a 50% increase on us, if they did it. So,
I don't see this will do any good going out for a check.
Yeah, but we need to do
Paid
our
out too
due
much.
diligence. We need to do our due diligence though, and at least get it on paper that they deny us or say
Okay,
40,
I can do
50%.
it.
These numbers you're talking about, how much the employee's gonna pay and how much the county's gonna pay. Whether it be 5% for the employee and 4.3 for us, or y'all gonna do that?
County takes.
well,
That's our
Charlotte
choice.
gave you some of this, and then that one sheet we sent y'all, and we sent you by email, it's with the employee picking up their totals additional on their dependents, and the county picking up the additional on themselves, on the employee.
Yeah, so what I showed you, you're absorbing 4.3% of the increase for the dependents, and they're taking on 5. And what Amy and Kathy showed you was you continuing those that have employee-only coverage at no increase. So you're picking up all of that increase for them, but if they're covering their dependents, they're picking up the full 9.3. You're not picking up any of it.
And we also have the thing to think about, maybe decreasing the input for the HSA
HSA contribution
dependents, or either for employee or and the
and the
dependent.
dependents. That's true.
So do y'all have any other questions for Charlotte again?
I kind of would like, and we may already have it based on what I saw. Instead of, man, even talking about it, just already feels weird, but I just want the numbers. Not to say I want to see, or that I'll make that decision based on that, but what if we did decrease the dependents input to 1,000 a year?
On the contribution.
Contribution for the HSA, just kind of crunch those numbers with that. And then,
That'd be easy, because all you're gonna do is take 500 off of,
Mhm.
how many people we got there, Amy, on the? No, on the, you're talking about on dependent.
yeah, just dependents.
Oh, okay. So you only got 12 times 500.
Oh, there's only 12 people on it?
Well, you're talking about,
There's
okay, yeah, 15, okay.
15.
So 15 times 500. But
Okay.
you're talking about dependents, right?
Yes,
On the HSA, instead of giving them 1,500 a year, giving them 1,000,
yes,
okay?
be
All right.
75,000,
So whatever.
75,
Get your calculator. out.
75,
75,000.
Okay.
or 70,
So, no, not
7,500.
Yeah, 75.
Oh,
Times only two.
that's really not that big a deal.
Because right now we're paying about 22,500 a year for the 15, for the dependents. As of now. Of course, I always.
We probably wouldn't know this.
And I'm sorry if I'm speaking out of.
No, you're not.
What if you just looked at just paying a flat $1,000 per employee period? Or, 2,500, instead of doing this much for the employee plus an additional for their family if they have
So
it.
just take, so what you're saying is pretty much take the HSA contribution for the dependents away completely.
Yes,
And then do the 1,500.
instead of having two different pieces, just have one piece that you can adjust.
Uh-huh.
And you can look at it saying, well, we'll either give you $1,000 or we'll give you $3,000 or we'll give you, just look at that. Just what, instead of having two moving parts.
Right. So if Ben's on the HSA and I'm on the HSA, you're saying, okay, we're gonna give, you, and let's say Ben has his spouse on, I don't. We're gonna give you $1,000 for the HSA. We're gonna give me $1,000 for the HSA.
But Ben could decide if 500 went to him and 500 went to his wife.
Right, no, it doesn't work.
No,
that way.
it doesn't work that way.
So Ben's account is set up under his name.
Yeah.
And all of that money goes in to his account. It doesn't have his dependent's name on it. He can spend out of that account for him and any dependent that's on his income tax return, whether they're on the medical plan or not. Okay, so I'm not covering my husband.
So he could still use it.
He could.
For his
use it
spouse.
for them, yes, so
Uh-huh.
it's just, I think instead of saying you're contributing an extra 1,500 for dependents, the way I have to think about it is if I have employee only coverage, I get 1,500. If I have employee dependent coverage, I get 3,000. I can spend that whole 3 on me, or I could spend that whole 3 on one child, or a combination thereof. Okay.
So how, I mean, if we were to kick this around and let's say, so we're at this place where we're having to make decisions because the increase is happening. And I don't have kids, but Chris does. Yeah, he didn't know about it, but I found out. So he has kids, but we're gonna pay more for him to be on insurance through HSA.
That's what we do now.
But I know, I don't have any kids.
Okay.
So, but I'm gonna be affected as a whole, regardless whether I have kids or not, because we're gonna always give the dependents people with kids extra money than those that don't have kids.
So the thing is-
Get the same amount of benefit with just a flat rate.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, where if you just had one contribution regardless, and then you could still use your HSA instead of saying, well, Chris has kids, so he gets 3,000 a year. Dwight, you don't, you only get 1,500 a year.
Well, I have kids that I have insured on that. Like the difference is, like if I do the children, I get that 3,000. She can spend that on her husband though. even though he's not, like, she's at the employee only, but the HSA can still be spent on her husband. So if I have kids and I did the employee only, I only get the 1,500, I could still use it on the kids, but if I claim the kids on this insurance, I get the 3,000, but I can still use it on the kids too. So that's why we gotta talk, I mean, it's.
So that's what I'm saying.
Like, if we-
I'm saying it's
They-
kind of unfair. I'll just be honest. It seems a little unfair. If you don't have kids, you're gonna miss out on extra money because you don't have kids.
Well, I think
I think
The income tax system's that
Yes, I don't really see
way.
it. but-
Okay.
I think the
But what I'm saying is when we have to increase everybody,
Yes.
we're just gonna keep going, but we're gonna keep contributing to the aspect of, well, they have kids, but we gotta pay for everybody also.
Well, like we.
You said everybody who's on the HSA gets $2,000. Whether you have kids or not, you get it $2,000 put into your to your health. And there is no, because you can still use it on your kids. You just get $2,000 flat rate. It's consistent, it's flat, and it doesn't, it's just easier to manage and also somewhat fair for those who may not have kids or those who have kids on a different policy. You can still use it if you have kids.
I totally agree, but I think just for background, where it came in is a lot of employers did it because that deductible, so on the high deductible health plan, it's $5,000 for me. And then I cover my husband. He also has a $5,000
Right.
deductible. And I'm paying $1,006 every month to cover him. So that's why a lot of employers tiered it, because of having that additional premium to cover my spouse and the additional deductible. And that's what we're happening with our employees. But because of the increase in costs for our plans, I've quit. And I also was contributing towards the dependent costs like you are, but I've kept mine the same. So any increase that comes in dependent, I've now started passing all of that on to them. I still want to be able to provide a plan at no cost to my employees. And that's my 6350 HSA plan. And, but I took away the tiering of the, like you're talking about. They get $1,500 whether they're an employee or whether they cover dependents, and that's it.
Yeah.
And $1,500 is generous because we do a lot of high deductible health plans in our office. And most are in about $500 range.
Well, even if we did 2,000, you're saving $1,000 or 7,500. I know it's not a big deal, but
On, only on 15 people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really
Because
not
those
a,
two retired employees are
Yeah.
employee
If you
owned.
did 2,000, you'd be paying more because we have 66 that we're gonna raise up.
That's-
oh, that is good.
It's not gonna be black and white because all the math
If you
is.
change the HSA contribution to maybe a flat rate across, then you could maybe contribute a little more to the dependents. So they didn't have to pay so much out of their check, maybe to I don't know.
Yeah, did what if you did what now?
So if you said, we're just gonna pay $1,500
I don't know.
for
what that
every
would be.
employee's
You're
HSA,
looking
that's
at
what we're gonna contribute.
$50.
Well,
Employees only.
employees only, doesn't matter whether you have dependents or whether you don't,
Mhm.
1,500 across the board. Well, then maybe instead of contributing $1,007, you could, contribute $1,050, to maybe adjust for some of that, because, I mean, if I were on the existing plan and I was getting 3,000 and now you're taking, I'm getting paid. Yeah.
Pretty big.
Yeah, and so if it was maybe offset by the amount that I had to contribute to the plan each month, then it might be a little easier. Just another scenario that we could look at.
People aren't getting a pay, you're not getting a pay cut, you're getting a reward cut. That's the.
Right.
and
Right.
That's.
You're getting-
Yeah,
that's not-
Benefit.
That's a
I can't let them
benefit.
say it. That's not a pay cut.
Because
Yeah,
it
when you
doesn't
start
actually come out of your
thinking,
paycheck.
Yeah. And that's the mindset
Yeah, it
as.
is a cut in benefits and not.
Yes, a cut in benefits.
And as we said in management settings like this, these are the tough times that you have to kind of go, what our employees are the bread and butter. They're the ones we got to invest in. And sometimes that means that the other decisions for dependents and all of that may have to take a hit. Doesn't mean we have to cut it, but it may have to take a hit in order to provide services for our employees. And not, because, I mean, the employees are also expecting a raise here in a little bit too, as we will be discussing that later on. And so you kind of have to weigh out the benefits and all that, because it's easy to say, no, just give everybody what they want. Just let everybody have what they want, and we'll cut cars, or we'll yeah, yeah, and we're not doing that, but we'll.
So if you went to a flat 1,500, whether they're employee only or employee dependent, that's gonna save you $1,500 a year on those 15 people that have dependent coverage. So it's a savings of $22,500 annually. If you went to $1,000 for everyone on the plan, you have 66, 12. So that'd be 81,000, right? Yeah, 81,000 a year. Where right now you're spending 124,500. So it'd be 43,500 savings.
If we went down to flat thousand.
Well, I really am not, my focus is not really a savings. It is, I would like to just hit even, but still offer the same benefit or a comparable benefit, which is, I know is impossible to say, but as things go up, kind of look at different options to do. So thank y'all. Y'all have answered my questions. I haven't made a decision mentally, but answered questions.
Well, you have a few weeks.
Yeah.
Guys got any more questions for Charlotte?
So the company can do like this scenario is gonna cost us this much per year, this scenario is gonna cost this much per year, this scenario is gonna cost this much per year.
So that's usually what Kathy and Amy do,
What
and
scenario you want
the-
though?
and kind of
That's a different-
show us bottom dollar all of our options,
Right.
that we want to see. They're really good about giving us those figures.
I need to know what you want to see.
So what I'd like to see is the just paying for the employees increases, whatever it is, but
Major
leaving
increase.
the deductible as is. And then the dependents picking up, them paying for the increase for the dependents. Employee paying for that.
Any-
Well, what I'm saying is all together in comparison with whatever else we're about to give you.
As in the
So
total.
let's
Yes,
show them on one sheet.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Whatever anybody else is asking, what you gave us already, where they will, we just pay the employee increase. And then they pick up the dependents. And then in comparison to,
Just that spreadsheet you do
Yeah,
last year.
so we have the 5% that,
That Charlotte did.
that Charlotte did, so we have that one. And then we have, of course, the 100%, which we can change for the employee to be, or the county to pay 100%. Is that correct on both?
Yes.
Well, the full, so on right now, the 80/20, the employee pays the 125. And you want that to go away or them to continue to pay that? On the 80/20,
Because we did that last year, didn't we?
correct?
Well, the last couple of years.
Mhm.
paid.
They've had to pay.
Yeah. On the 80/20.
and we do that because the HSA gets the 125 balance. What's the
Yeah,
balance?
to balance it.
Out what
Yeah.
it costs a year. is what we
Okay.
do.
Right.
I remember that a little bit. And then also on that spreadsheet, or just what it would cost to leave us like we are, and we as a county just assume all the responsibility on that same sheet, which you already have, but what it would look like, dependents and everything, like what we're already doing. Yeah, or we didn't make,
Deductions. just
yeah,
like
if
they
we
were.
just,
So
we just ate.
We can't
just ate-
raise our deductions anymore, correct? Isn't that what you said? TAC won't let us?
The
No, they
deductible.
won't,
The
but we don't
deductibles.
have any
Yeah.
higher deductible.
Deductible options.
Yeah.
That's what I
He's
meant
saying
to say.
leave the deductions to the employees the same.
Yes,
The county absorbed all of the.
yeah, just all the increase. I just want to see what that looks like. I'm not a fan of it, just talking out loud, but
Rest.
I'd like to see what it would hit us with. What do you got, Ben?
And then did we go? Are we showing that option of lowering the HSA contribution to 1,000?
If we make a flat rate.
Yeah, flat rate.
2,000 and 1,500 per employee regardless of the spouse. How much is that? How much
How
is
much
it?
are you asking me to?
Well, if we,
Right now, we're giving 1,500.
we're giving 1,500 for the employee, but you can also do 1,500 for the spouse.
Yeah, so what do you want?
If we just do
He
it
wants
per
to-
family, per whatever, we're going by employees, not spouses. So if the employee's 1,500, the
No,
cross
but
the
I'm
board.
asking how much are you wanting?
So you're
me
saying
to-
1,500.
Yeah, 1,500.
1,500
It's
and
1,500,
And 2,000.
then we don't do spouses.
1,500 employee only.
Yeah, just employee only, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, we just want it on a sheet, yeah, because I'm not gonna remember all of the numbers y'all gave me.
Just put it all on a chart, so. you
Yeah.
can compare.
That way I can look at it.
That's what I need to.
Kathy, you don't have nothing to do.
What do we need, what do we need
Yeah.
pins for?
Yeah, throw these out.
Okay.
Put this on
Thank
the
you.
to-do
I
list.
appreciate you guys.
Did you get what all they want?
I don't need to bring my pen next time.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? A lot to think about. It doesn't appear that we have,
Anybody interested?
no, but maybe they're watching their YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I feel certain that most of our employees are watching.
On YouTube, so that's not
Yeah,
the
that's not
Zoom.
the Zoom thing. That's only the YouTube.
Yeah, that's just the,
Well, they could still jump on the YouTube, the Zoom link, because everyone's got it.
yeah, but
I
we
was just
wouldn't
saying, if
know
you're
it.
looking for comments or something.
We wouldn't know it because that's not the
It would've-
window. That's a
Yeah, we don't
YouTube
want
window.
comments. Okay. We don't need no comments, okay.
Well, I want to say y'all did an awesome job.
Okay.
Thank you, Charla, as always. Your information is very good. We appreciate you.
It's a little daunting, but it's cool.
Okay, anything else? Any,
Well, at least it's not a 20% increase.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yes,
there's
that's,
always a bright side. Any final public comment? Meeting adjourned.
I think she might have been mean.